salty about. Welcome to Short and Bitter, the only show where I get to ramble and no one gets to stop me. Today, our subject for the first episode is my main story, A King and a Queer. This will contain spoilers, obviously. If you want to know just the gist of the whole story, join me here. If you would rather experience the story in comic form or whatever other form it happens to take over the years, don't listen to this. Now, keep in mind, the story is still ongoing. I'm still in the writing process of it. And so, things are subject to change. So, this is the story as of May 2020. A King and a Queer is a story about unrequited love and the lengths at which someone will go to force someone else to return their feelings. To put it in the most polite way possible. Our story follows Abimbola Pastel Illimer II as he kind of learns to stand up for himself in the face of his former best friend, Aziz Jones. Let's begin. Scene 1. Act 1. There's only one act. I don't really structure my things into acts, so the entire thing is an act. Scene 1. Abimbola Pastel Illimer, which I will be referring to as Abe, because that's his nickname and his preferred name later on. Not like he's not trans or anything. I get, I myself am trans, so I get the whole dead name things. He just prefers Abe. Okay? Great. The story starts with Abimbola Pastel Illimer accidentally slipping a piece of paper that no one was supposed to see into the guest list for his 19th birthday party. So he has to go and retrieve it from Kayla, their private messenger, who, upon seeing whose name was on that list, freaks out. Then it goes into a flashback style thing of the night that Abimbola's best friend Aziz left. It's at first it's really nice, it's polite, everything's going great. And then Aziz offers to leave and for Abimbola to come with him. And Abimbola, having his parents just died, knowing he's next in line for the throne, can't really bring himself to leave everyone else behind. He tells Aziz as much, and Aziz flips out. There's a lot of arguing back and forth, and Abe is just not ready for this. He starts shaking, and in the end it ends off with Aziz storming off. So cut back to current day, it's the party now. Abe has been stuck thinking of that day and ignoring everything else, which Quan has to snap him out of. So he tries to enjoy the party, he looks around, he's greeting people, it's his party, he's having, not a good time, but he's having a time. And through the crowd, he sees Aziz. He's like, oh, that can't be Aziz. No way. He's left for 9 years. Why would he come back now? It's Aziz. Wow. So Aziz catches up to him, and he asks Abe for a dance, and they do. So they go onto the dance floor. The two are dancing. They're just catching up. And just when Aziz is about to reveal the whole reason he came back, a chandelier crashes, almost killing them both. In enters Morty. We hate Morty. I'm just gonna say that off the bat. He is purely in here because I felt like there needed to be an actual kind of main villain that wasn't just Aziz. Anyways, in enters Morty, and he's flamboyant as always. He goes out demands, and he's insisting that he's going to kill Abe and take over the throne. Everyone's like, wow, that's weird. Why would you want to do that? And he's like, I have reasons. Haha. However, Aziz, seeing this, quickly gets Abe out of that situation against Abe's will, because the socially awkward child is nervous all the time, and honestly, he doesn't want to be king, so the chance of death, if no one else gets hurt, it wouldn't be that bad of a trade-off. which, not really the best thing, but oh well, poor boy. Az is like, no, your life is worth more than theirs, and Abe kind of freaks out internally, like, dude, what the heck? No, it's not. So the two get the heck out of Dodge, leaving through the back gate, and Norman happens to see them. However, Norman and Aziz's mom, Kayla, made a bit of promise to Aziz's mom. So he hesitantly decides to just say that they got away and goes back to tell Morty, who is furious at this fact, and throws Norman along with Odalis, Charmant, Gillian, and Quan all in jail. Well, it's not quite jail. They don't have a jail. They should get a jail. They get a jail at the end of the story. It's the archive. This was supposed to be for plot things, and I really should have, and I still need to, for more, fix it up and stuff. But, archive. Aziz and Abe make their way out of the forest surrounding Aragon, which I don't know if I mentioned is the kingdom that Abe rules. And they make it up to a hill, in which Aziz kind of apologizes, gets a bit more angry, stuff like that. And Aziz eventually goes to sleep. Abe continues staring at the castle all night, and by the morning is exhausted. In the morning, Forte comes and wakes up Aziz, and is like, hey, I was waiting for you guys in the village down there. Why weren't you there? Wow, seriously, dude? You just kind of stood me up. I had to pay for 3 rooms, and none of them were in use. So they all travel down to the village. Am I going to pronounce the village's name? No, I'm awful at pronouncing this village's name. I'll attempt it. It was named after its one role in this story specifically. So, be prepared. And I can never remember how it's spelled either. So, like I said, be prepared. Insednit? There we go. Insednit. Incendit. Perfect. I can pronounce my own names. So Incendit, it's a nice quiet town, and Forte's like, here's the place I got for us to stay. And inside is Kayla. Aziz and Kayla both freak out, with Aziz going in the angry route and Kayla going into the mental breakdown route. Abe is immediately like, Kayla, are you okay? And Aziz is just like, we're getting out of here. Choose a different place for us to stay. Forte's upset because she just lost a lot of money on this place. But they do manage to, by sundown the next day, find a different place to stay. During that time, Aziz and Abe have a little, heart-to-heart, a bit more communication and stuff, in which Aziz takes it completely wrong and finally confesses his feelings to Abe, who's just like, I don't quite understand what you mean. So Aziz kisses him, and he recoils, going, I don't feel the same, please stop. Later that night, Aziz and Forte meet up to enact part 1-ish, part 2, I guess, of their plan. And then Aziz just goes back to his room. Moments later, he wakes up from, whatever. And the town is on fire. Fire is everywhere, and to his, shock, his horror, Abe is missing. So he goes through the town searching for Abe, and who does he come across but Kayla, who is about to die, who's trapped in a burning building, etc., etc., and she's calling out, hey, Aziz, help me, please, in which it's kind of, shown off that Kayla abandoned Aziz with Morty for her own safety, and Aziz is still salty about that. So he doesn't help her. In fact, it's like a reenactment of when Kayla left. I love that part. Anyway. So he leaves Kayla to die. Cut over to Abe, who is safely on the hill in the distance. And Quan has just saved him. How did Quan get out? Well, Gillian and Charmant found a secret passage. Well, Odalis and Norman were fighting. Did I forget that part? Of course I did. I'm not the best at this, apparently. So Quan saves Abe, and they're like, oh, you're fine, that's great. How is the others? The others aren't very well. So hearing this, Abe immediately wants to go back. But he can't, he's a bit burned, fire. Quan looks over at the fire and decides, hey, somebody has to help. And it's exactly that scene from Big Hero 6 when Tadashi runs into the burning building. It's just that. Just take that scene, put Quan's face over it, put Abe's face over it. It's that scene. So Quan runs into the fire, and Aziz runs out of the fire. Get a little time lapse. As rain comes putting out the fire, Forte joins them on the hill. And at the end, Abe is just kind of crushed. He's slowly hoping, hey, maybe Quan will come out of the fire. I'll see him again, right? That was just, my parental figure for 9 years. Please let him be alive. So Aziz goes to search the ruins, looking for Quan as well as just anything else. He takes Kayla's wedding ring while he's at it, because it's always been part of his design. It needs to be here too, And he finds Quan's burnt red coat, brings it up to Abe, who's just kind of like, oh no, and decides that talking or doing anything is just kind of pointless. So Aziz has to carry him to the next town. We cut over quickly to Odalis, Charmin, and Gillian, who silently creep off away from the castle, having gotten out, and give a little thumbs up to Norman because they're planning something. Wow, drama. Cutting back to our boys, Aziz, Forte, Abe. They're all there. They're all great. We love them. Or I do anyways. They reached Zircon, which is the reason I can't pronounce Zircon correctly ever, because I named the town Zircon. Because I liked adding an E in there. It's like, yeah, it's not Zircon, it's Zircon. I regret it so much, and I can never fix it. Anyways, make their way over to Zircon. Forte's like, I'm gonna go get us a spot. And so Aziz tries to cheer Abe up by showing him the sea, which is something Abe has always wanted to see. Abe kind of slowly crawls out of Aziz's arms and is looking at the sea. And he laments about how many people have died because of him. He takes off his crown and kind of looks at it, and he delivers my favorite line, I think, which is, I am no king, and throws it into the sea. At this, Aziz tries to comfort him, once again saying everything will be alright, because, hey, I love you, and that's that. And when Abe refuses him again, he pushes Abe into the sea and nearly drowns him. I love Aziz. I love them, but Aziz, what the fuck? Anyway, so Abe wakes up in a dark room, and Aziz is there. They have a quick chat where Aziz shows he has more issues than previously thought, and insists that Abe should love him. When Abe says no once again and decides to stop talking to Aziz, Aziz storms out. Almost immediately, Abe tries to open the door. It's locked. He tries banging on the door and severely just kind of hurts himself. He stops that, figuring that there's almost no point. And at this point, if he's in here, maybe at least no one else will get hurt because of him. That's when Forte comes along. He's like, hey, are you okay? I heard the noise. And they get a little time to chat, which Abe kind of asks about her and her thing. And her thing is that she can see parallel universes, and in every one she sees these events and she sees just how happy she is. And she wants to be happy. So Abe asks if she was happy before, and she says she was. She had a wife, she had her perfect career, but she kept seeing herself really happy here, so she wanted to try that. Well, she's not happy here, and through this conversation she kind of realizes that, and she's not causing anyone else's happiness. Well, she's causing Aziz's, but he's crazy. She decides that it's not worth it anymore, and goes back. I'm still on the fence about this. I'm thinking we have a little bit of, like, her attacking Az's that just kind of doesn't do much. But starts Az is just kind of realizing everyone's against him and he needs to act faster. Az sees this conversation, gets irrationally angry that Abe would talk to someone else, and goes in and like yelling, just, what is wrong with you? Why don't you love me? And Abe finally gets to stand up for himself, saying, you're crazy. I have told you time and time again that I am not interested. I am in fact Ace. I'm not interested in anyone. And you won't take the hint. And, you're crazy. I want to go home. I wish you would never come back. And, maybe it's his love interest yelling at him, but Az is kind of like, holy crap, you're right. I did kill a bunch of people. I did do all that, and none of it was for any good reason. He kind of, reality check sets in, and he lets Abe go. So Abe runs all the way back to Aragon to find that his sister has enacted a plan to drive Morty out and hopefully kill him, but Morty's mysteriously disappeared. Gillian's dead. It was a fun time, but not really. They have a quick, reunion. Everyone's happy to see each other. And we cut to a small funeral for the people who have died along the story. Mainly Quan and Gillian. And, Norman's having the sermon and stuff. And everyone leaves. Abe's the last one to leave. And then Az's comes in, and he and Norman has a little chat. And he decides he has unfinished business here. So Az's enters the castle. Later that night, Abe wakes up tied to a chair in a loft above the throne room, with Morty on the other side sharpening a knife. Obviously, hey, you know what? Oh, crap. He's gonna die, but he doesn't want to die anymore. He has kind of something to live for. He's ready to give up the throne, and social anxiety isn't holding him back anymore. So instead of just letting himself take it, he devises a plan. He manages to crash through a window and escape, just enough to grab a sword and defend himself. When everything looks like he's about to get stabbed, Azaz comes in and quickly kills off Morty. Abe's like, hey, thanks, but I never wanted to see you again. And Azaz is like, that's fair. You know what? I get it. He says, I've asked Odalis to come here. She'll be here in a moment. Good luck. So, Abe, not wanting Odalis to have been woken up for nothing, just kind of decides, now's the time. I'm gonna give up everything. Odalis, the throne is yours. My last request is to be removed from the history books. I'm going traveling. And Odalis is like, finally! Holy crap, do you know how long I've waited for this? And everyone's like, yeah, we did. And Odalis decides that her first rule is going to be to build a jail, which is a wise move. And Azaz walks in and she's like, yeah, you know what? Fair. If you need, I'll be the first prisoner. I probably deserve it. And everyone's like, yeah, you deserve it, man. Also, why are you still here? And so he leaves. Then we cut to a couple days later. Abe says goodbye to Charmant and Odalis, leaves the gates, and Azaz is there to say his goodbyes before they both go their separate ways. Azaz asks Abe if he runs into Forte to apologize for him. It's a nice time. And that's where A King and a Queer ends. Until it goes into what he left behind. What he left. There we go. And then the Hello from Sam series. But that's the end of it. That's the main story. Things are subject to change. Like I said, I believe I've dated this. If not, I'll do it again. This is as of May 2020. And I don't know when I'm going to be able to start up the comic and stuff like that. This is only the second draft of the story, but I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to leave a like, leave a review, or wherever or whenever you are listening to this. And I have been Robin, signing off.